About chapter 15 problems. I've got the screen open to our ebook, and I want to go over problem 15-1 because it really does some good information in that problem about the CCC, the cash conversion cycle. And you can see here the problem. Let's read it out loud so everybody gets a catch for what's going on here. Paramore Corporation has 12 million of sales, 3 million of inventory, 3.25 million of receivables, and 1.25 million of payables. Its cost of goods sold is 75% of sales, and it finances working capital with bank loans at an 8% rate. So the question is, what is their cash conversion cycle, the CCC? And then the question becomes, if they could lower inventories and receivables by 10% each and increase payables by 10%, all without affecting sales or cost of goods sold, what would the new CCC be, and how much cash be freed up, and what would how would that affect pre-tax profits? Okay, so what I did, I took that question and I've just got an Excel file open, and let me make sure everybody can read that. Let me make this a little bit bigger here and see if that'll work better. So I got the same data from the problem right here. So basically their sales, inventory, AR, AP, their cost of goods sold is 0.75% of sales, interest on a bank loans 8%, and the question then becomes, what is the CCC? And so just so you know, and you should have seen this when you saw the PowerPoints and read through the chapter, is the CCC is three things: your inventory conversion period, plus your average collection period, minus your payables deferrable period. So basically, what's that time difference between a sale and collecting? Basically is really what that really turns out to be. So for inventory conversion, the first part, it's inventory divided by cost of goods sold per day. Just think 365 divided by 365. Your average collection period is receivables divided by sales divided by 365. And then your payables deferrable period is your cost of goods sold divided by 365. So really the question is, what is their CCC? And then we're going to make some adjustments to it and kind of do the what if game. So let's just plug in the numbers of the current that they've given to us and figure out what the CCC is, basically the base case, what it is right now currently. So let's just go ahead and type in the numbers. So inventory conversion is the first one. So inventory is 3 million, as I type in the numbers here. And your cost of goods sold per day is, we don't know what cost of goods sold is. They didn't give it to us. They gave us the percent that it is times sales. So I'm going to take 12 million, which is my sales number. I'm going to multiply that by 0.75, and I should do some parentheses here to make this all work right. Oops. So it's not liking not fixing it quite right here. And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to divide that by 365. Okay. So that'll be my cost of goods sold per day. So I just do a little bit of division here. Take my 3 million divided by the bottom number, and I'll get my inventory conversion period, which is 121.67 days. Let's just do that down to 2 decimal points. Okay, so there it is. Let's do the next one, the average collection period, and that is my receivables, which are 3,250,000. And then divide that by sales divided by 365. So that'll be the 12 million divided by 365. And then we'll go ahead and do some math, get the base case, and get that in days. And this is all in days. This is 98.85 days. Let me get that down to 2 decimals. Then we'll do the payables deferrable period. Payables number is 1,250,000. Then my cost of goods sold per day is the top number here. So I'm just going to just do a plus and grab this number. It's the same thing, cost of goods sold per day. So I'm just going to do it that way. Just to make it easier, and then I'm going to divide the two numbers and get to the answer. And so I get 50.694. Again, let's just go ahead and do that with decimals and add them all up. And we'll just go plus, plus, oops, and then plus. Get that last one. Okay, hit enter, and we get our CCC. Once the spinning wheel goes away on my computer, we'll get the answer, which is 169. Whoops, that's not right. Let's see. 120. Oh, minus. That's why it's not right. I got to minus the last one. So my bad. I built the formula wrong. There we go. I get 169.83 days. That's all in days. Okay, so that's the base case of where we're at. So the second part of the question says down here, if they could lower inventory and receivable each by 10%, increase payable by 10%, all without affecting sales or cost of goods sold, what would the new CCC be? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what I'm going to do then is basically say sales stays the same. We're going to look at inventory and go, it's going to reduce by 10%. So basically 90% is what's left over. So I'm going to take that 3 million, multiply it by the 0.9. My new inventory number will be 2,700,000. Same thing with my AR. I'm going to reduce it by 10%. So what's left over is 90%. I'm just going to drag my formula down. Actually, drag it down to 2 spots. Okay, so I get 2,925,000 as my new AR. And my AP will go up by 10%. I'm going to slow down my payments a little bit. And that number would now be 1,375,000. So let's go ahead and just do that in decimals so you can see the whole thing. Okay, so those are my new numbers. So now, let's just go ahead and look at what we've got here and plug in the new numbers. So I'm going to do those just right over here. And so my inventory number now, instead of 3 million, and this time I'm just going to draw, just do formulas. So let's do plus 3 million and divided by cost of goods sold per day. Okay, so basically we know that we did not change cost of goods sold. That did not change because it said cost of goods sold over here. Part of the problem was cost of goods sold and sales would not change. It says it right down here. So let's go ahead and just say that same denominator, the 24,657, that still works. Thanks, that did not change. So let's just do the math here, and we'll get this in days. And we can see how it changes from the base case to the new scenario. So it goes down, which is good. It goes 121.67 down to 109.5. Let's do the same thing with the average collection period. My receivables number has now changed. It is now 2,925,000. We're going to try to collect a little bit faster. And my sales per day does not change because we did not affect sales. So I'm just going to just draw a formula here, grab that same number again, and then we'll just go ahead and do the math, a little bit of division, and we get 88.97. Let me just do a whole bunch of decimals here. Just get those in 2 decimal points. Okay, there we go. In the last one, the deferrable period, my payables number has now gone up. It's now 1,375,000. Let's grab that. And my cost of goods sold per day has not changed. That's still this 24,657 number. And let's go ahead and do the math on that one. Get 55.76. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take this formula here, copy it over, do a paste, and there we go. So we go down to 142.71. Okay, so basically what I had versus my new situation, we reduced the CCC by 27-ish days. Okay, and just know the longer that is, the worse off the business is. You want that to be as short as possible, right? So you've got a number of things you can do to affect that. With all the inputs here, as we change those, affect what the CCC will be. So what this company is trying to do is just say, let's try not to carry as much inventory. Let's try to make our collections go a little bit faster, and let's slow down our payments. And if we can do that, the CCC goes down by 27 days. Now, the key part of all that is to not affect sales or cost of goods sold, right? So if we get to inventories being too low and people show up and can't find the product they want, sales are now affected. If we are aggressive with our collections and we alienate some customers, we may lose some sales. So those are things that you have to be concerned about when you do these. But it's good to run the hypotheticals and go, if we truly can pull this off, will it work? So the last part of the question then is, how would that affect pre-tax profits? So if we can pull this off, how will pre-tax profits change? So for this part, we need to kind of look at what the change is. How have things changed from the base case to the hypothetical? And so basically, I'm going to type the word change over here and just know that that really applies to a few things. So change in. So change in inventory. We got to look at that, what that is. Change in receivables. And then also change in payables. Okay, and that will kind of help us figure out what's been freed up. So with inventory, we have to look at it in terms of days. We have to basically say, okay, what is the days that I saved? So I'm going to go with the base case of inventory was 121 minus the 109.50. Okay, that's a start. That's not the entire answer, but that's the start of it. And we'll let the spinning wheel think about this. There we go. And so it's 12.17. Then we'll do the same thing with the receivables. We had the base case of 98 minus the new number of 88.97. We'll let that think through. And then we've got the payable side, which is the 50. And we're on purpose making this number bigger, right? We're slowing down our payments. That goes up. That means we keep more of our cash. And now that's how much the days were impacted for each, but that's not the dollar amount yet. And so what I have to do next is go with my inventory and go, I have to multiply that by my cost of goods sold per day number, which is the 24,657. I take my receivables and I multiply that by my sales per day, which is the 32,876 number. Then my payables number, I multiply that by my cost of goods sold per day. And we can just use this one. Okay. So basically, I'm multiplying those days by the denominator for each one of these. This one, and this one, or this one, and this one. So let's just do the math on these. We'll just multiply these out. Okay, so that's how much cash I have saved for now. And then what I have to do is kind of just take those numbers and do the math. So in total, so remember the CCC is this. The CCC is plus inventory plus the receivable minus the payables, but I'm minusing a minus, so it'll end up being a plus. So I get 750,000. That's what I get. Okay, and I can just, let me just show you that. So 750,000 is cash freed up. Now it's not the bottom line. The number, the bottom line is, how did that impact profits? Well, I borrow 8%. So in theory, if I free up 750,000 and I have to borrow less money by 750,000, what I free up is this, and that's the bottom line impact, is 8% of 750,000, which is 60,000. So if I can pull this off, I literally save $60,000 per year of interest expense, and that would increase then the bottom line. Okay, and the key, of course, whenever you're doing a hypothetical is, will this work without impacting sales or cost of goods sold? And if it works, we essentially took 27 days off of the CCC, and that's $750,000 worth of cash that's freed up that we can then not have to borrow for financing that we just now have, and that reduces our interest costs. So if this works, it's a good deal. Okay, so I showed you this problem because it kind of shows you a few different angles with how this works, and I thought that was a good one to show you. The next one I want to show you is the required problem. The required problem is problem 15-10 in the book, It's on page 563 of your book, and the one in the book is very similar to what you'll do. The numbers are different for everybody, but the same. You do it kind of the same way, the same style. And so let me just get that on the screen for everybody. Bear with me a second while it does that. Oops, I had to go to the previous page and just scroll down. So hold on while I scroll down here. Okay, so it's just like this, and what they do is they give you information. In this example, it's Helen Bowers of Helen's Fashion. Your company will probably be different. You'll get a series of months with sales numbers like here. So basically, here is the forecast for sales for several months. And then it says based on those sales, we're going to make some estimates. So we're going to estimate payments obtained from credit department as follows. Now, what you do for the problem may be a little bit different than this, just FYI. Collected in month of sales, 10%. So basically, as we make a credit sale, we assume that 10% of that credit sale is collected the month of the sale, 75% is collected the second month after the sale, I'm sorry, the following month after the sale, and the second month after the sale is 15%. And that adds up to be 100%. In this example, we're assuming 100% of sales will be collected. Now, you might have a problem that says maybe it adds up to be 99% or 98%. They're just building in the fact that not everything sold on credit will be collected. It says that payments for labor and raw materials are made the month after these services were provided. Here are the estimates of cost of labor and raw materials. So basically, if we incurred 90,000 of those in May, we'd pay them in June. If we incurred 90,000 in June, we'd pay that in July. That's basically what they're telling us. General administrative expenses are 27,000 per month. Lease payments under long-term leases are 9,000 a month, so those are just the same numbers for every month. Depreciation charges are 36,000 per month, so that's the same. And miscellaneous expense 2,700 per month. Income tax payments of 63 are due in September and December, so 2 months they have a large payment that goes out. Progress payment of 180 on a new design studio must be paid in October. So we're having a construction company build something for us, and they're requiring a payment of 180, which is not unusual when you enter into a construction contract that the construction company wants periodic payments. Cash on hand in July 1 was 132. We must maintain a minimum of 90,000 throughout the cash budget period. So a few things about this. A lot of banks require some minimum number of cash or minimum amount of cash in your account. If you maintain that number, they might waive fees. They might give you a little bit better interest rates on loans that you have. So usually you try to maintain that, even if it means you have to borrow some money. You still want to keep it at 90,000. So when that happens, you definitely want to keep that minimum there. So it says to prepare a monthly cash budget, and then kind of just develop what the needs are in terms of financing and things like that. Okay, so that's the gist of the problem. That's what's going on. So let me pull up Excel, and what I'm going to show you is the Chapter 15 textbook Excel. It's available for you under the handout section, just like every other chapters is out there. And this one's very similar. So if you just took this Excel and modified it to meet the needs of the new problem with those numbers, you'll be in good shape. Okay, so this is just a good place to start. And you have to kind of modify this for the way the payment streams will happen. Like the one we had was 10, and then it was 75, oops, and then 15, for example. So it just says those have to add to 100 or minus the bad debt expense. So maybe you've got one that said that last month is different because you impact bad debt expense or whatever that is. So this one, there was no bad debt expense. There's no discount on the first month of collection, so I can just type in a 0 there. And then purchases over next month of sales was 100%. Basically, I just said the cost of labor or the cost of, let me go back and show you here. Oops, down here. The cost of labor and raw materials were provided the next month. Payments for labor and raw materials are made the month after they're provided. So that's why I changed that to be 100%. The lease payment, whatever that was, I forget now, that was $9,000, and then we had expenses of $27,000. And then this one has October of a new plant. Ours was 180, but it might have been a different month. We had a target cash balance of 90. I didn't take everything into account that we were given, but it just gives you a flavor for how you would adjust your Excel to take care of that. Then of course you type in what the new sales numbers are. The sales numbers were just literally given to us up here. You just type those in just across the board. And if you have to add another column or two, that's okay too. But basically just type in those numbers right across here and what those are. And you just make sure that your math and the formulas are working right. Okay, so is that truly 10% and so on? And just know that this starts out with collections not happening until the third month. You got to just you might have to add a few formulas to the left here to make this pull in the proper amounts too. So just be aware. Really, this is just a good framework, but you really got to check your formulas to make sure they're grabbing the right numbers and so on. So you want to make sure that first month here, 10% is collected, and the second month it was 75, and then the third month it was 30%. So you can see that pattern for May, how that was collected, and the math is working as I copied it from left to right. But you almost have to check each one of these just to make sure, is that working the way that I think it should be, because it's easy to get the math off on these, and of course you need to drag over your subtotals and so on. Then your purchases, you just type in what those numbers are right across the board, and just know that you might have to adjust those also, just because we know that. Let me go down here with the 90,000 was my first raw material and labor purchase, and so that happens not in the first month but the second month. That would you can literally just type that number in. You just type in 90 and that would work. And you might want to do this in the whole dollars. This is rounded, but when you type these, and you probably should do the whole thousands. That probably would make more sense. Okay, and then just down here, then the various payments. So this is actually right here is the form that's doing that. It's basically just you just brought that number in. So just make sure you grab the right number. You don't have a wages and salaries because that's already been brought in, but you do have the lease payments. You do have an other expense, and you do have a let's see, you had 2,700 for miscellaneous, 36,000, 9,000 for the leases, and general administrative salaries of 27,000. So you did have some general administrative salaries. So just make sure you fit those into these categories here. It doesn't really matter what they're labeled, just so you've got the numbers right. So you have all the numbers kind of laid out for you when you go and enter this into Applia. And so if you do follow that pattern, that will definitely help you quite a bit. You've got the 90,000 minimum balance here, and then what you can do is just take this formula here, and you can drag that left or right to do some math for you too. Although you might have to check the formulas. Oops, just make sure that they're working right. Okay, but anyway, so this is really kind of just the framework that you should start with as you begin to put this together. Okay. You don't have to worry about that part right there, but that should give you a pretty good flavor then for how to do this. Just know that you can use this Excel as a framework to start and build something that looks like the answer sheet in Applia. So if I go back to Applia, I got our problem down here. Let me go to this one, and let me look at this from the student view. Make sure I do it that way. So this is what you guys will see. And then we click on that right here. And then what you're going to see, of course, once I get into it, is kind of what the various boxes are that you'll be dropping numbers into. So here's my problem. Here's what it looks like. It's still Helen Bowers. My numbers will be, everybody's numbers change. And you can kind of see then, if you have this open as you build your spreadsheet, that'll kind of give you a feel for where you need subtotals and where you need to enter numbers. But it's almost like you want to build a spreadsheet that mirrors this input right here. If you do that, you'll be in very good shape. Okay, so that should give you I think a pretty good head start then for doing this problem. But just have this open, have the Excel file open, and kind of just make sure that your Excel file just kind of looks like the inputs that you saw down here. I already scrolled past them. I think you'll be in good shape. And as always, if you've got a question, you can sure ask me.